Hi, everyone. This is our Virtual East meeting of the Inventors Roundtable on October 28th. Oh my God, I cannot believe I'm planning Thanksgiving dinner already. But you know, that's kind of the way it is. So our guest tonight is, I just know her by Essie. And I know she's got a last name, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. And we found out about the R&D tax credits 6 months ago. And honestly, the first time I heard about it, I thought it was a scam, and started doing some investigating and talking to some folks, and actually looked on the IRS website, and no, it's been around for what, Essie, 40 years. And so the whole idea was, if nobody knows about it, nobody's taking advantage of it. So it has been our goal in the last year or so to start making, well, last 6 months since we found out about it, is to make sure that inventors know. If you don't qualify, fine, at least you knew to ask. If you do qualify, yippee. And if you have to do things to qualify, okay, then you do them so you can take advantage of it. I think we've sent 2 clients to you already that have been serious. And I know that Leslie signed an agreement with you. I know that you're talking to Aaron. That's great. And everybody, I'm going to let Essie take over. Essie, you are in
Columbus, Ohio.
And yes. I know that Mel is in California, Jeff's in Colorado, Wendy's in Texas, and you're in Kentucky. I know that.
Yeah, Louisville.
Yeah.
For the next 2 weeks, we're getting ready to move. As you can
That's
see.
right. That's right. And easy folding bracket. Where are you?
I'm in Michigan.
Okay, so we've got a pretty good lookout across America. So Essie, you take it over, because I want to make sure that we get to the point. Introduce yourself, and then I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves to you so that you will know who is talking.
Yes, that is perfectly fine. Thanks for the introduction, Rita. I am happy to be here tonight with everybody. I will give you a preface by saying I am not feeling very well. So if I have to stop and cough or take a time out, I just wanted to give myself some grace ahead of getting started here. The other thing, before I go into too much detail on who I am, I have to give this out loud just for legality reasons. So thanks for joining us today. TriNet Claire's R&D offers a dedicated team of tax experts and platform solution that helps businesses to efficiently claim the R&D tax credit. TriNet Claire's R&D has unique insight into the R&D tax credits for businesses. TriNet Claire's R&D does not provide legal, tax, or accounting advice. The information herein and the opinions expressed may not apply to your company or scenario, so you should consult your own advisors on how best to proceed. Reproduction in part or in whole is not permitted without express written authorization from TriNet Claire's R&D. Okay, we did it.
Very good.
Hello, everybody. My name is Essie Baird. I am a senior partner account executive here at Claire's R&D. I say Claire's R&D because we were Claire's R&D before we were acquired by TriNet, and now we're TriNet Claire's R&D. But I have been with the company just under 7 years. We started the business. I was the 5th employee. I shouldn't say we. I did not start it, but I was early on with this venture. Which was a startup back when I started, a small software startup. Just like Rita mentioned, really not a lot of people back in 2015, 2016 really knew much about the R&D tax credit. So much of my conversations with inventors or early stage startups on the front end was just proving that this is in fact a true benefit and incentive by the government. And like most government incentives, they exist. However, they don't make it very easy to claim. So the whole purpose of Claire's R&D, why we exist, why the business got started, was so that we could make this accessible to the small to medium business here in the United States. So that's a little bit of an introduction on who I am.
Well, thank you. I know when, I talked to one company early on, and they were talking about the R&D tax credit, but they made it sound too good to be true. And it's like, I know there's got to be some parameters in there. And so I moved on and talked to a couple of others. And when I talked to Essie at Trinet, she goes, now, wait a minute. Now we've got to make sure we've got to ask these questions, and this is how we do it. So it made a lot more sense. And so the whole idea with, you guys is, I want you to be able to ask the right questions so you get the right information and know whether or not you really do qualify. So we're going to start with Mel. He's going to introduce himself, tell you a little bit about what they have invented. And that way, then you'll have a better idea of where people are standing as far as how far they've gotten.
Perfect.
Hi, Essie. My name is Mel Melster. I started a company with my daughter. My daughter is really the hero in this whole thing. I'm just in the B plan. I'm the B plan here, but she's not feeling so well, so it's just me today. She has a lot of health issues, and she had juvenile onset Parkinson's, which then caused her the gastroparesis, which required her to get a feeding tube. And people with feeding tubes will tell you that the stoma, where the area around the stoma, constantly leaks and burns the skin from the bile of your stomach, and it's something that nobody's really solved. And anyway, so she's a chemist, and she came up with a solution that pulls the moisture away from the skin, absorbs it into a gel, and then you can wipe the gel away, and it gives the skin a chance to heal underneath it. And so we went through the whole, patent process. So we met Rita. We now have a company to license out to. We've now started to sell it. So that's where we are in the process. So up until now, in order to do anything on your taxes, you have to have income. And so now we've got just a little bit of income, so we're going to get there. But that's where we are in the process.
Excellent. Thanks, Mel. Okay, Mr. Da Vinci, introduce yourself, honey.
Okay, I'm Todd Dietz. I developed a pillow for sleep apnea patients called, it was Psyche, but now it's ProPap. And so been struggling with that to get that on the market. And then I've got another product I'm really excited about, which is why I tuned into this. I've got working with a product development company to get this product to market called Neck Guard. It's an ergonomic device that protects your neck while you're working overhead. So kind of got my hands full with both products, and it's kind of like driving two teams of horses. When one slows down, I beat on it for a while, try to get it moving. And so I didn't know about this. I wish I would have known from other product, but I'm hoping to take advantage of this tax credit with the new product, Neck Guard. So
Excellent. Thanks, Todd, for being here.
Yep.
All right. Easy folding bracket. Introduce yourself.
My name is Lou Nason. I'm co-founder with my wife and from the Easy Folding Bracket. And we come up with Easy Folding Bracket. I had a lot of chairs in the basement, and folding chairs actually. And my wife begging me all the time and said, "Where you gonna put them up? Those chairs." I said, "Yeah, I gotta look at it if it's anything on a market like that." And with my experience, like a welder and inventor, I come up with folding bracket, and it's heavy duty, and you can put up to 7 chairs, folding chairs. And if you don't use them, you just fold them up for the space saver. Yeah, so he holds more than 75 pounds, and you can put bikes, chairs, ladders, and more, and that's why we come up with a folding bracket, and we can solve the problem probably for a lot of homeowners too and businesses.
Excellent. Wendy, you're next, honey.
Hi there. My name's Wendy Short. I'm from Austin, Texas. I have my first product. It's called Float No More. And this is an item that keeps your body from floating away in a hot tub. Sometimes we hold the sides, we put our feet underneath each other, we brace ourselves because we float away from the jet instead of just sitting in the lounger, the tub, the seat. So this item has an adjustable strap that you can either lay in your lap, put around your waist to keep you in your hot tub. So you can actually relax and have your muscles do your business. And I am just about ready to pull my trigger on my first box. I need one more QR code made, and then I'm done. I'll be ready to get it.
We talked about you on the radio today. We did. Talked
Oh,
about
you
Float No More.
did? What'd you say?
Yeah, we did. We talked about how awesome it is, and we can't wait to get them. So, Jeff, you're up
next. Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Jeff Gerhardt. I live in Colorado, and I developed a pusher. Started as a snow pusher, and it's about 4 feet. You have 2 models. One's 4 feet wide, one's 3 feet wide, but it's flexible, and it basically slides or glides over, imperfections in the surface that you're pushing things on. So, for example, sidewalk expansion joints or driveway expansion joints. With a standard shovel, you get impaled, get it caught in that joint while you're pushing it, unless you're just shoveling with it. So, and it's flexible. It works really well, and it works on dirt, water in your garage. I've pushed pine needles off my yard with it. So anyway, we're in. What are we in? We're in kind of the second round of production models, meaning a production prototype. So, we took the garage prototype, made a rough production prototype of that, and now we're kind of going with a full-up design to try to get numbers on, making a few of these and getting them out and trying to sell them. So for that, and I have a second product that we won't talk about here, but it's in patent search right now. So work in that direction.
Excellent. Mr. Holly, you're next.
Uh-huh.
And you completed the layout for the USA because you're in Florida. So we got Florida, California, and everybody in between.
Good evening. I'm Bill Holly. I'm from Tampa, Florida. My product is a new version of a hammer. I sent one to Rita back a while back, a very crude one that I made in the garage. And in the work that I'm doing now, I use her testimonial in which she said, "I love my modern hammer. Try it. You'll love it too." And she and I recently agreed on a spot for me at the Las Vegas show. So I'm going to be joining her there. In a nutshell, what my hammer does is cause the user to rotate the forearm 90 degrees toward the inside of the body, which frees up a lot more wrist flex and better aligns the hammer with the forearm. And that leads to a whole lot of advantages. That's about it.
Excellent. Carol, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Carol Anino, and I am still working to get my prototype enhanced because it had a couple of flaws. And right now I'm in the process of working with a local engineer who said that he works specifically on prototypes. And so he's going to reinforce the part of my prototype that will allow it to be a little more durable in terms of, well, I apologize, I didn't explain what my product is. For those of you who don't know, my product is a hands-free device that allows people to read for long periods of time without having to have a stress on their shoulder and their neck. So it attaches to the arm of a chair, and it then is positioned in front of the person and reaches eye level so that they don't have to keep their head down, which causes a lot of stress on the neck. And right now I'm in the process of trying to strengthen the piece that attaches to the arm of the chair so that it will not fall over, which at the show we had some few issues with it. So I'm in that process right now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for introducing yourselves to Essie so she would know who she's speaking with. Essie, we are at your disposal, dear. You can take it away.
All righty. Thanks, Rita. Thanks for going through all of your inventions, everybody, and listening. And this is just a very creative group of people. So I'm excited to share with you a little bit about the R&D tax credit. Maybe, hopefully, this can help you all. So yeah, I just want to get through today kind of, what is the credit? Does your work qualify? And just so you know, listening to everybody so far, your work absolutely qualifies. It's just a matter of, will this benefit you? And I'll go into more detail around that. And then we'll chat a little bit about, who my company is and what our process is like. But I like to start with giving some history on the R&D tax credit. I know Rita said, the credit's been around for 40 plus years, and that is very much true. And it's crazy how much in the last 40 plus years, research and development has changed in the United States. But I like to start with the history just so that you all understand the spirit of this credit. Why does this credit even exist? Well, in the early 80s, all of or many of our larger manufacturing companies were manufacturing overseas. So the United States said, well, why don't we incentivize companies to bring jobs back to the United States? So when you're thinking about whether or not you qualify for this tax credit, first thing to ask yourself is, do you employ people, whether those are employees on W-2 or contractors here in the United States, that are developing your product? If the answer is yes, then you've passed barrier to entry number one. And then, over the years, the credit has evolved. We still very much use what was originally outlined in the early 80s as what is qualified research and development. But as you can imagine, between 81 and 2024, a lot has changed. And so you might be wondering, well, what does a company like ours actually do? Well, we bridge that gap between what was written in the tax code in 1981 and what is being developed today. Along with that, a lot of legislative changes have happened over the past several years, and the IRS comes out with a lot more guidelines almost every year. And that is really what we try to do, is make sure that we are keeping up to date with all of the latest guidelines and making sure that when we claim this credit or help you claim this credit on your tax return, that you're claiming it within the guidelines of the law, because the last thing we want is for you all to get audited and for any money to be taken back. So that's a little bit, about the credit and what the histories or what has happened over the last several years. I'll mention one more thing. Prior to 2016, the credit, it's an actual tax credit. So what I mean when I say it's an actual tax credit, it's not cash that the IRS is sending you. The credit itself has to be used to offset either your business's income taxes or your business's payroll taxes. So when I say, like, you all are doing R&D activity, everything that you all are doing is qualified research and development activity. But in order to monetize the credit, you have to be tax paying. And that's either tax paying, your business is earning income and you have to pay taxes on those sales, or you've employed employees and you're paying taxes to employ those employees. And those are the two ways to take those credits. Another big thing that, Rita mentioned earlier is that just companies generally don't understand that they qualify for the credit. The name research and development tax credit is a little bit deceiving because naturally everybody thinks, you have to be in lab coats, but you guys might actually not misconstrue this name, because you guys are all inventors. Everything that I heard you all describing would fall within what we would normally see as qualified research and development areas. So I'm kind of going to continue repeating this as I go throughout the presentation today. But the first barrier to entry, the first qualification, is that you have to be developing your product in the United States. The second barrier to entry is that you have to be doing qualified research and development. And what do I mean by that? So in order to say that the work you're doing is qualified activity, you have to be able to answer what's on the screen here, known as the 4-part test. four-part test, like I said, was originally the four things outlined in the tax code in the early 80s that said if you can answer these four questions, then you qualify for this credit. So the first one is my favorite. The first one is that you have to have a permitted purpose. In other words, you have to be developing a product, process, software, formula, or technique. And here's the best part about it is you can either be developing this product for the first time and in the first year of developing it, or in subsequent tax years, because ideally you all are going to develop your product and continue to develop your product. In subsequent tax years, you can say, hey, I'm improving the functionality of my product. I'm improving the performance of my process. I'm improving the reliability or the quality, because most companies, over the years of being in business, they're not just going to invent something and walk away. You have to continuously improve upon your product in order to have a sustainable business. And so the permitted purpose really says, like, you can claim this credit now and you can claim this credit each and every year as long as you continue to invest in improvements to your product. So it's not just a first year credit. The second thing, or the second two parts of the test, they really go hand in hand. So number two is the elimination of uncertainty. So you kind of want to think about, okay, when I went to develop my product for the first time, what was I unsure about? Was I unsure about my overall capability to develop this, the method of development I used, or the overall appropriateness of the design? And if you're having trouble answering this question, it's really number three that would do that for you. Because if you had any uncertainty at all, you're going to go through a process of experimentation to solve for or eliminate that uncertainty. And in fact, we don't want to know what process of experimentation worked. We want to know where you failed as well. Because ideally, what we are doing here as we're going through these four parts and we're documenting this alongside you, we're saying we're preparing for a potential IRS auditor to come along 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now and say, knock, 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 we want to look at your R&D tax credit and prove that you actually did qualified R&D. And then you're going to pull out the report we prepared for you and you're going to hand it to them, and it's going to have all of these questions answered. That's exactly what this is for. So that's what we document here. And then the fourth and final part of the test says the work that I'm doing is technological in nature. So if you think about, if you come up here to the permitted purpose and you say, I improved a process in my company this year. Of course you did. Every single company in the entire world hopefully improved a process this year. But did you rely upon the principles of a hard science to improve that process? Physical, biological, engineering, or computer science? If so, then it is qualified R&D. But if you're just doing an operational process improvement, that is not qualified. So ultimately, usually, like if I was having a consultation with you one-on-one, I would say, are you able to answer these four parts? And if the answer is yes, then you qualify for the R&D tax credit. I guess usually I like to stop here and see if there's any questions. If not,
Bill's got a question. I think Mel
Wait. Sorry, I'm off mute. I have a couple questions.
Bill got his hand up first, so
You're fine.
A chance. I think almost everybody's got a hand up. So, SE, you can see him. Go ahead and give him a call on him when you are ready.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure. Would you call on them? I'm not sure how to use the
Bill,
queue thing. Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned employees. Do you have to be employees, or do 1099 people also satisfy that requirement?
Yeah, and that's a good segue into the next slide. So, and I won't go into too much detail on this yet, but yes, so there are 3 qualifying expenses that would go into the calculation of the credit. And a qualifying expense, if you're paying 1099s, as long as they are located and working on your product here in the United States, their time and activity on that development will qualify.
So Noah would qualify as an example.
So the engineering work that I've hired would be a qualified expense.
Correct.
Mel, did you have a question?
Probably will be answered later, but what kind of things can be deducted? For my perception, the largest expense by far away is legal fees for patent and things like that. Is that at all included in this?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, patent attorneys and those kind of legality fees are not included in the R&D tax credit at this time. I would say that some companies will say it is an included expense, but we do not. We are pretty conservative on what we would say is a qualifying expense, and attorney fees don't really fall into process of experimentation. You really want to think about the expenses that qualify, whether it's the wages to employees, contractors, or supply costs. Are they involved in the process of experimentation, in the testing, in the development? And if you can make an argument that that patent attorney is involved in that, then there's a case for it. But it's a gray area, I will say, Mel.
So in our case, other than that, the research and things like that have been in-house, just ourselves.
Okay, yeah.
So is that then just?
Well, I mean, so if you are not taking if you're not spending, I mean, I'm sure you're spending money, but if you're not paying anyone to do this work, then no.
Can you,
but
going forward, let's say in 2 years or 3 years, when you pay yourself, can you claim that part of that pay is related to research and development based on those 4 questions that you ask?
Yes, yeah. As long as you are taking a guaranteed payment or you yourself are receiving a W-2. If you're just taking owner's draws, that's not going to be a qualifying expense. So when you talk to your CPA or your tax professional setting up how you'll get distributions, you just want to make sure that it's either notated as a guaranteed payment or an actual W-2.
Is there I think one of the big differences with Mel and Jasmine is that she's the scientist. So if she's set up in their company as the scientist receiving pay for her research, no, the products, I mean, they were buying OTC powders and mixing them together, but she had a lot of hours of experiment and education that went into that. So you might dance around a little bit of gray areas of looking at different options, Mel, because you are in a different category. She's the chemist. She's
Right.
She's not necessarily the engineer like we think a traditional engineer, but she is the chemist.
Absolutely.
You can classify as engineer as well. I mean, there's not that much difference in this case. So I'm guessing that maybe in 2 or 3 years from now, I could take advantage of this. And can you go backwards in time or?
Yes, you can go back and claim the credit on an amended tax return. And just so you're aware that the credit is always claimed when you file your tax return. So you can go back and amend your tax return to claim it after the fact. obviously, if you didn't have any tax owed in those tax years, the
Right.
credit would just roll forward to a subsequent tax year. But in those tax
Makes
years,
sense.
if you go back, you'd still have to say you were spending that money in that tax year. So it might make sense, yeah, to go forward when you are actually able to pay her for the work.
And so how much
And
of that pay could then be used toward a credit? How would you determine
yeah, I mean, if she's, it sounds like she's like all of her time is spent doing qualified research and development
Right.
activity.
I can
That's
make
her
that argument.
primary.
I
That's
can
her
make that
primary role. So I would say her entire wage for the tax year
would then be
would go.
deductible to the company?
So it would go
Or-
into the calculation of the credits. So any wages you spend, you pay in the tax year, any contracting fees you pay in the tax year, and any supply costs you pay in the tax year. You add these three categories up and take it about 7 to 10%. It's not that simple. The math I'm using here is an estimate. The math that actually goes into the calculation of the credit is more complicated, but for like back of the napkin math, what you would do is add these three categories up, and about 7 to 10% of that would be your return, and that return amount would be used as it would reduce your taxes owed in that tax year.
When you say your taxes, you're talking about the corporate
Businesses.
business tax,
Yeah.
not the,
Mhm.
does not affect an individual's tax if this is a pass-through company.
It does. If it's a pass through, it would pass through to the K1s.
Okay, that's a plus.
Todd?
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of my questions I think was answered. Is this retroactive? What about like certifications? Like for my neck guard, we've got an ARC-rated version of this thing for the electrical workers, and we need to have certified, like a burn it up, like a blast with an electrical charge and burn it up. So is that, I guess, part of the qualified research expenditures?
Is whatever the burning up you're doing, is that a process of experimentation? Like, are you testing to see if something is working? Then yeah, the cost of who you would pay to do that testing would be qualified as long as that company and that business is located in the United States.
All right. I've got a company I hired for is a product development team, and they've got offices all through the US, but they also have an office in Canada, and I'm dealing with that Canadian team now. So is this
that unfortunately, unless you like say, hey, explicitly I want to use and work with the United States employees, like any work that you're paying for people doing work for you that is outside of the United States is not going to qualify. Even if the company is owned and operated in the United States, if the people doing the physical work are in Canada, the time spent isn't going to qualify, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's another government thing that's 10,000 spoons when all I need is a knife.
Yeah, I don't make the rules. I know.
Yeah, pay it through one of the U.S. offices.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna try to do. Yeah. Is that acceptable if I can, if I have them write a check or write an invoice out of their Miami office, even though they did the work in Canada? I mean, it's the same company.
Don't ask that on a recorded line.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, no, we're not going to answer that. Yeah.
All right.
SE doesn't want to know. There's certain things you just don't say.
Okay. I'm just trying to
Wendy,
figure out how I can use this. So
there are sometimes you put on the gray hat and you just don't even worry, Yeah. I know I used to have an accountant. He goes, don't tell me what you don't want me to know. And I appreciate the fact that, there were just times when it's like, don't ask me and don't tell me what you don't want me to know. Wendy, you're next.
So David asked one of my questions. My other question would be, Would this count? I don't know how loose or how gray or how wide R&D covers, but you talked about, I thought you said something about, I don't know if it was trade shows or learning, or sometimes I use trade shows to go to, which I'm coming up on one, and I had one last year where I'm using research and development on my own through other people. How could I improve this product? What do you see wrong with it? These are improvements. Is
yeah,
that considered?
that's
What
that
what kind
sounds
of
more like
R&D?
it's
Go
more
ahead.
yeah, it's more like market that what you're doing is probably market research, which is going to be a softer science, not relying upon the principles of engineering, physical science, biological or chemical science. So the R&D has to rely upon one of those four sciences to qualify, so market research would not qualify.
So my product in totality would not even apply to any of this, would it?
No,
Uh,
you did with John at Fruition Labs, because that's the development of the product.
he is in charge of all of that. So like that whole cost of what I pay him from start to
Yes.
finish for the first order?
You own the intellectual property, correct?
Yes.
And you are paying this third party to do what?
Everything.
Yeah.
Design the product, get the product made, have it,
I
land on my doorstep, basically.
yeah, I would say that qualifies. It's your product. Depends on how you're paying that vendor.
How
At the end
should
of
I
the
pay it at the end of the day? Because I haven't paid him yet.
well, that's a good question.
Yeah,
Well,
you-
if it's a fixed payment. If it's a fixed payment, meaning like you have to pay them whether or not they deliver what you want or not. Like that's kind of the deal. Like you have to be at financial risk. So the first thing is you have to own substantial rights to the IP. That you do.
I do.
The second thing is you have to be at financial risk. In other words, no matter if they deliver on their end or not, you still have to pay them. That would mean that you can claim this credit.
I would think so. My goal would be that they would deliver, but I suppose in a really nasty world, if they didn't, I would be
You would still be on the hook.
I would be on the hook for that dollar.
Yeah, I would definitely schedule a consultation with anybody on here. If it sounds like you qualify for this credit, the QR code is on the screen right now. So I would go through a formal consultation to see what your options are for sure.
Just a consult. Nope, I already read it. Okay, thank you.
It's free. Yep.
Yep, got it.
All right.
Thank you.
If there are no more questions right now, we'll let Essie go on with her presentation as soon as she's done coughing.
I'm so sorry. I'm struggling today. All right, so I mentioned that there's two different ways to monetize the credit. So the first way, or the traditional way, I'm actually going to start on the right side, is originally when this tax credit was introduced, excuse me. It was introduced to, larger businesses that were paying, business income tax in the United States. So the original way to claim the credit is as an offset to your income taxes. But a lot of you early stage companies are operating at a loss. So what the IRS did, which is still not great, but at least it's something better, as they said, and I should say not the IRS, the legislators, the policymakers, introduced a way to take advantage of the credit as an offset to your payroll taxes. Now, there are specific requirements in order to qualify to take it against payroll taxes. The first one is that you have under 5 million in gross receipts in the tax year you're claiming the credit. That you are still within the first 5 years of earning revenue, which sounds like all of you guys are still very early on. And then totally, like in total, you can only claim the credit against your payroll taxes 5 times total. So as long as you meet what we call the 5-5-5 rule, under 5 million in the tax year, under 5 years of earning gross receipts, then you can take the credit against your payroll taxes, and that will actually offset your employer portion of FICA. So if any of you do have a payroll at this point and you're paying employees, you're paying a little over 7% in FICA taxes to the federal government. So if you claim this credit and you qualify for it, it would reduce those FICA taxes, which is a big portion of your payroll. Any questions about that?
Does it reduce off of sales, you say? Or are you coming on to that?
So it would lower your income tax. If you are selling your product and you're selling more than you're spending to develop it, then you're going to owe income tax on your sales. So the R&D credit will offset that business income tax.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the first way to earn it. And then the other way is, yes, as a reduction to your employer portion of FICA, which is something that your payroll company would handle. So once you file your tax return, we would then get that filing date and work with your payroll company to make sure that the credit was applied to your payroll taxes. Another question we get a lot is there a state R&D tax credit? And the answer is yes. Some states have an R&D tax credit and some states don't. Uh, 36 states, to be exact, have a credit, but each state operates completely different from the other. So it's really a state-by-state cases or a state-by-state analysis. So when we go through the process and we evaluate your claim at the federal level, we'll then go down and evaluate to see if it makes sense to claim the credit at the state level. So coming nearing the end here, the biggest thing about claiming the R&D tax credit is we want to make sure that you are defensible in that we're claiming it with compliance. You know, prior to the acquisition a couple of years ago, the only thing our company had was our one product offering. So if we were putting out a product that was not compliant, did not stand up in an audit, you know, we'd be out of business by now. So the whole point, like I said, of working with a company outside of your CPA to do your R&D tax credit work is really all to do with compliance. And in each and every study that we put out, you have to make sure you have these 4 components of the study. And so what we do is we developed a software. I'll come back to that side. But we developed a software, and the software is what allows us to deliver this product affordably, but also with compliance. Because like I said, there's so many changes that have happened to the R&D credit over the last several years, and it's almost impossible to keep up with if you haven't developed a really robust piece of software. And so the process of working with us, once we get through kind of your initial evaluation, which we would do on this initial free consultation, we'd say like yes or no, it makes sense for you to claim this credit. If it does make sense, we'd get you signed up and you'd hop into the software. In the software, you answer all the questions that we've gone through. You'd answer the 4-part test questions, and you'd give us, you know, all of the expenses you paid in the tax year, which would include, you know, employee wages, 1099 invoices for any of your supply costs. And then a calculation for the credit comes out at the end, and you are claiming it on your tax return. It's pretty simple when you think about it, but, you know, there are still, you know, a ton of nuances that we have to keep track of, which is what the software helps us to do. I'll wrap it up by kind of talking a little bit about TriNet Claris R&D. I think I've mentioned this earlier, but I'll go back to it and say, you know, we were founded by what we say is a tax geek and a tech geek. The tax geek noticed the change in the tax code a few years ago, which was the piece that opened the door up for early stage companies to start taking advantage of this against their payroll taxes. And that was kind of our blue ocean opportunity. But the tech guy was like, well, we're going to be working with earlier stage companies that need a really efficient way of claiming this credit. And that's where our software comes in. But we do not consider ourselves a software as a service. In other words, we have a full dedicated team of tax experts and CPAs who review all of the responses within the software. So we're not just saying here, like, fill out this form and calculate the credit on your own. We are actually reviewing every single one of your studies to make sure that it's compliant and that we're putting out a high integrity study for your peace of mind and kind of keep you guys focused on doing what you guys do best, which is making your product. So, I don't know if anybody has any questions right off the bat, but I can go through some questions that we normally get if that would be helpful for anybody, if there aren't any immediate questions right now.
Carol's got a question for you.
And yes, I have a question. What is there a timeline in terms of how far you can go back to secure this tax credit? And you know, what type of paper work do you need for that? You know, what would
Yeah.
to
So
I
the
did have,
statute,
no, some
the
expense.
statute of limitations for the credit is 3 years. So
3 years.
you can go back
Okay.
up to 3 years to claim the credit if it makes sense. And the paperwork that you would need is just proof of payment. So you need to go through and tell us the R&D activities that were done, but you also need to say, okay, this is what we spent on R&D. And if you spent that money, we need to prove that you spent it. So there needs to be some paper trail of your expenses.
Okay, would that include like drawings and iterations and that kind of thing?
The drawings are helpful, but it's more so proof
No, I mean
of payment.
that I paid for someone to draw and do these drawings.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Depending on if there was like a process of experimentation involved with the drawings, then yes, it could be an argument for those expenses to qualify. I would
see.
definitely go through a full consultation to go through your situation in more detail.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I think we covered this first question here a little bit, but if you do have employees outside of the United States or overseas, what activities or expenses can I include? And it's really just all the expenses that are incurred in the United States that you can include. We often get a lot of questions when we go through the payroll credit and claiming the payroll credit. You know, how do you handle your R&D expenses after 5 years? And the answer is the exact same way, just that after 5 years, your way of monetizing the credit changes. So prior to 5 years, you can use it against payroll taxes if you want. And then after 5 years, your really only option is to use it against your business income tax.
Okay.
Question 3 here is Is a 501c3 eligible? No, unfortunately, no nonprofits are eligible. So if any of your business are operating as a nonprofit, it would not be included. There is, I won't go into too much detail on this, but there is a fairly recent tax law change that has to do with Section 174. So if you are claiming the research and development tax credit, you also have to amortize your R&D expenses over 5 years. That's something that your CPA would be able to inform you on, but it's also something that in your consultation, if you decide to schedule a meeting with us, would definitely want to review with your consult. But yeah, that's really all I have for you all today. Is there any other questions while I'm still online?
So we will make sure that you guys can get it. If you want Essie's contact information, I've got it. We'll be posting TriNet Claris R&D on some of our sites, and it will link to her then as far as information and stuff. So it'll be, you know, easy enough for you to get in touch and talk to her, ask her a few questions if you need to. Todd?
Are you going to send us a copy of this video, or I was interested in the slides as well as the QR code?
Yes, I will double check with Essie and see if I can only send it to the folks who were here since you saw it, or if we can post it. We like to post these online for us, but I will double check, and then it will go to you guys at least because you were here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just so you guys are aware, the QR code is super important because it just attributes where we got your information from. So we just want to make sure that we attribute it back to Rita and her organization. So in case you went to the site all by yourself, we'd like for you to use the QR code specifically. Thank you. That's my plug.
Thank you. So anybody else have any questions? I'll let Essie go because she is struggling just a little bit. And
I'm so sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. We wanted to get you on, and we are grateful, and we do know how to find you.
Yes.
So we can make sure that if we've got any follow-up, we can check in with you. But before she goes, does anybody else have a question?
I have a question.
I've got to run. Thank you.
All right, Todd, talk to you later.
My question is, if you want to produce your product here in US, actually, if I want to produce and I want to hire people and buy, for example, welding machines, is that qualified for something like that?
So any machinery that's considered depreciable or subject to a depreciation scale is not going to be a qualified supply cost. You really want to look at supplies as things that are used up or consumed in the process of experimentation. So as long as if they're like pieces and parts, that you're using up or consuming in the process of experimentation, those would qualify, but not the actual machinery.
Not the actual.
All right, everybody. We're going to let Essie go ahead and go. Thank you so much for educating us on this. We are grateful, and I am sure that you'll have more questions and a lot of other people wanting to talk to you. So
yes, thank you so much, Rita.
Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Talk to you in a couple days. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
All right, everybody. We're going to try to do a couple of these, just coming up every once in a while. Normally we just, we talk to each other, answer questions, see where everybody's at. But there's certainly topics that we need to be able to share information on. And I think it helps you guys then to meet these different service providers when we have a chance and see them and they're real and I'm not making them up. So anyway, if does anybody have any questions for me? It's always good to see all of you. So all right, if we don't, we're all going to go and say good night for the evening, guys.
Thanks, Rita.
And you know how to find me if you have any questions.
Thank you and good night.
Take
Yeah.
care, everybody. Good night. Good
Good
night.
night.